Jaffna, or Yapanaya, the capital city of Sri Lanka's northern province, is known as the port of the lyre. But why the lyre? A blind musician named Pannan played the yal, an ancient stringed instrument like a lyre, for the king, who was so pleased with the music that he gifted Pannan the sandy plain which came to be known as Yalpanam, blending the names of the instrument and the musician. And what better way to celebrate the city than to savor some unique Jaffna cuisine? That's later on in today's Kaleidoscope. We have the best partners on board with us. A big thank you to Skills for Inclusive Growth and Australian Aid, Srilanka Life, CDB and the Morning Newspaper. If you like Kaleidoscope, subscribe and follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram and LinkedIn.
Did you know you can open a digital fixed deposit with just 5,000 rupees? Open a CDB iDeposit digital fixed deposit today. CDB, your friend.
We start with some good news in our CDB snapshot. Sri Lanka's dollar bonds due in 2030 has the highest gain since mid-September. The central bank says Sri Lanka's economy decreased by 8% in 2022, making it the country's biggest economic downturn. Sri Lanka's inflation decreases to 70.6% in October from 73.7% in September. While total apparel exports decreased by 13.5% in October year-on-year, total exports from January to October increased by 14.7% year-on-year. And in the entertainment industry, Taylor Swift bags the Artist of the Year title at the American Music Awards.
You focus on your goals. We will take care of the risks. Srilanka Life.
We begin our Srilanka Live news capsule with the Pethiagoda pages. So what did the budget say? But more importantly, what did the budget actually not say? Reading between the lines, scientist, conservationist and public policy advocate Rohan Pethiagoda paints a bit of a dismal picture. Rohan, what does the budget say?
Whichever way you slice this budget, it amounts to little more than wishful thinking. The whole thing is contingent on the government's forecast that GDP will rise by 25% or 27% next year. But that is an absolute fiction. You need to remember that inflation is running at well over 60% right now. So in real terms, the economy is set to shrink next year. It's not going to grow. The president has promised to increase public spending by 25%, and he expects government revenue to rise by a colossal 63% compared to this year. But that's not going to happen. Of course, taxes have been increased substantially, but this isn't going to increase government revenue because, for one thing, customs revenue has plummeted because of restrictions on imports. We can barely import anything nowadays. And then corporate tax revenue is set to fall because companies, after all, pay tax on profits, not on turnover. And most companies are now making losses. The entire retail sector and the tourism sector, these have traditionally been the cash cows for inland revenue, are now making losses. The president concedes that we will have a budget deficit, an all-time record budget deficit of 2.4 trillion rupees next year. That's more than $6 billion. If you think about it, we're asking even the IMF for only $2.9 billion. Our budget deficit next year is going to be double that. Most of this deficit will be bridged by printing rupees.
And so what does the budget not say?
For starters, it doesn't say that the allocation for healthcare next year will be lower than it was for healthcare this year. The situation with education is even more precarious. Education spending next year will be down about 15% from this year's budget. The president has boosted the defense budget by a whopping 26%. We'll be spending as much on defense next year as health and education combined. I suspect the government will keep kicking overseas debt restructuring down the road until they can hold provincial council elections. Because once we start paying back the debt, we are going to be really and truly in financial difficulty because we don't have the money to pay back the debt with. After that, the government will devalue the rupee again. And then all bets are off. We'll be back to queues and shortages once again.
And now for a look at our markets. At the Colombo Stock Exchange, the all-share price index moved up by 2.6%, but the average daily turnover remained low at 1.4 billion rupees. WTI oil slid to a 10-month low this week to $77.50 per barrel, with prices declining by over 15% in just the last 2 weeks due to renewed worries of a global economic slowdown. Expectations of rising interest rates till early 2023 capped gold prices at $1,738 per ounce. She's from Mathale and she makes money from honey. Naomi Ranavira took a sweet product and made it even sweeter. And the good thing is, she sources her treacle from a farmer network within her community. I started my company in 2018 with a female co-worker and 5 farmers. The name of my business is Natural Honey Private Limited because the products I manufacture are 100% natural, which is what makes the products I manufacture, that's Kitul Jaggery and Kitul Treacle, very unique. They are sugar-free and free from any harmful preservatives, additives or chemicals. I source my raw materials from a network of 200 farmers within the Mathale district. These farmers are from 15 communities within villages in Mathale. I also employ 11 persons from around the community in my business. British national Toby Reid donned the coveted pearl jersey and became a qualifier for Race Across America when he won Race the Pearl, a 24-hour endurance cycle race riding 600 kilometers from Point Pedro to Dondra Head. He bicycled to the studio for a quick chat. What was the most difficult for you?
24 hours on a bike. I've never ridden for that long or for 600 kilometers. I think it's when it gets dark, mentally that's tough because there's less beautiful scenery to look at and you start to get tired. I think when your body starts to think it's bedtime, that's tough as well. I started mountain biking when I was very young and then started triathlon maybe 8 years ago. So I've always ridden bikes.
Super yachts are out. Terra yachts are in. This week, Lazzarini Design unveiled its latest luxury boat named Pangios, shaped like a turtle at a whopping $8 billion. Up next is S4IG Let's Talk, and today we sit down with Stephen Loziak to check out Welcome Back Better. Sri Lanka is getting ready to welcome winter visitors with a warm smile, a hot curry, a vibrant step, a hilly climb, a sparkling gift, a ride to heaven and an exotic postcard. This is what the Sri Lankan brand of tourism is all about, and tourist arrivals have been steadily climbing. But at the same time, the tourism industry must be equipped to weather any storm. Welcome Back Better is a campaign launched by Skills for Inclusive Growth to put tools and skills into that preparedness formula. Consultant Vocational Training Skills at Skills for Inclusive Growth, Stephen Loziak, is with me today on putting those skills into place. Welcome, Stephen. Good to have you on the show. Now, when you look at the current tourism industry in Sri Lanka, where are we falling short in terms of being prepared for eventualities?
If you look at the wider tourism sector within the whole country, so micro, small and medium-sized enterprises, they are in a pretty devastated situation at the moment, and it's not their fault because of the aftermath of the bomb attacks in 2019 and the pandemic response. Some of them have been closed down for nearly 2 or 3 years, and those that have tried to keep going have lost staff, and they don't have the right or even trained staff at the moment. So if you can ignore the 5 stars who are all doing quite well, the smaller ones are in a sense feeling quite downtrodden and devastated at the moment.
So your Welcome Back Better campaign, very, very interesting. What exactly are the fundamentals embedded in that?
So the idea of Welcome Back Better is the tourists are coming back. We're already seeing good numbers now in November, December going into January. It's looking quite good. Better means we want to welcome them better than we did before 2019. So in 2019, the numbers were good, but you could say that the level of professionalism, particularly in MSMEs, wasn't great. And so we think this is an opportunity, a little window before the numbers really start picking up for people to train themselves, train their companies, train their employees, and have a more professional outlook to tourists when they come back.
You're a strong proponent of having women in the hospitality industry. Why?
It's a kind of no-brainer from a foreigner's perspective. When you go to a place that has a mixture of men and women working, it feels normal and natural and more comfortable. It's not a great look for Sri Lanka when you go to properties that are male-dominated in terms of staff. Obviously, the industry needs more women involved. And again, we're in another window here where we can start giving that message to MSMEs. If there are women in your area who are looking for work, or if you know someone, you can encourage people to come and work for you. Women make obviously a great contribution to any team. There are opportunities for people with disabilities in tourism as well. So Welcome Back Better is trying to incorporate that message.
So we're talking about conscious tourism, responsible tourism, and given that tourism is actually a community-driven industry, how can we get the MSMEs involved?
Part of that happens organically, and if you look at the situation before 2019, people were beginning to take risks within their community, like positive risks in terms of opening homestays or guest houses, and that draws more people in. At the moment, that's basically gone, but when the tourists start coming back, that organic process will happen again. I think what we can add to that is help people who are in those communities to think, okay, what else could we be doing here to draw people in? And that encourages a kind of, again, training, ability to look around. Let's say you have a temple in your village or something that you think will be great, like a lake where you could do some activities that you could get people in. To help build communities, you help give people those skills to think, how can I tell a story to bring tourists here? How can I market that? How can I video it? How can I put it online? These are things that we're involved in, and I think the country at large could think a bit more entrepreneurially like that.
So thank you, Stephen. Good luck in what you're doing, and I do hope our tourism industry will be equipped eventually to face any eventuality. Thanks again. So Skills for Inclusive Growth has video training tools in place, and they will be shared if anyone would like to have them for training and upskilling. Open up the unique packaging and what you get is an absolutely authentic taste of Jaffna. Varnati Wilson, whose father was the inspiration for her venture, Ole Foods, serves up the most delicious Jaffna cuisine in the most unique packaging to your doorstep. And she goes a step further by sourcing her packaging from war widows and women-headed households in Jaffna. Enjoy our tribute to Jaffna cuisine on Life in 60.
We want to do something different. I mean, everyone is doing some type of food, but we want to make sure that it's Jaffna, but it's very authentic. So it made us, when we were traveling Jaffna, we found that the ingredients are, the unique ingredients plus the authentic ingredients are not really used. So we thought of, bringing that in, and also the fact that the packaging also should be environment friendly. That could be something where we can also, empower and work with others. So we bought everything as a concept. So everything is biodegradable. So we got this little cut, we call it the cut, it's like a little mat. So the food is packed in banana leaf, and then this is packed around it so that it keeps it safe. And also it's quite versatile. So we get this from war widows mainly from Kilinochchi, Mullaitivu and Babunia, where we actually help them out. So purchasing this not only just aids and help them and support them and their families, but also it helps them in keeping the food intact and also gives a part of our culture in it too.
So thank goodness it's Friday and have a great one. We'll catch you next time.